recording now. Great. So, right, welcome everybody. We've got Lee Becker, who is going to be speaking with us about some tips and tricks for Excel without using any formulas. And with that, Lee, I'll hand it over to you. And yeah, let's see what we can learn today. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Ben. So I guess I'll do a very quick introduction about myself. So I am someone who just uses Excel quite a lot, and I like to well, I like to automate what I can, and a lot of the work that I do though it does require manual work as well. So a lot of the tricks are things that I use myself. So outside of work, I quite I'm a big advocate for reducing waste, and I'm involved in our local repair cafe in particular. I did a quick bit of research and I found that looks like there's a good one in Southampton as well. So I'll put a link to that in the chat in case some of you are local. Oops. Yep. Right. Anyway, so I'm just going to get started. Right. So I've just realised I need to share my screen. Right, so I've got a bunch of data here, which is kind of fake repair cafe data, as if it's data that we're collecting from people who are attending repair cafes. And so I'm just going to demonstrate the type of thing that we might need to do sometimes with our data. So one of the things is sometimes if we need to add up or do some quick quick calculations on a few numbers, but they might not be like the whole row or something like that. So what you can do is if you hold down the control key on your keyboard and then highlight whichever numbers that you want to add up, then what you see is this sum down here in this toolbar. The problem is that if you click off that cell, then the number disappears and it makes it quite hard to sort of record that number. But what you can do is if you click on that number there, then it copies it onto your clipboard. So you can then you can see now that I've clicked off it, you can't see that number anymore. But what you can do is now paste it because I've copied it onto my clipboard. And the other thing is that it's not just onto your Excel clipboard, like you can paste that anywhere else onto your computer as well. So I've just pasted that into Notepad. That was a newish feature from a few years ago. So next tip is how to manipulate the columns or cells in your worksheet. What I used to do, so if I wanted to, for example, put the date onto in between column A and B, I used to right click and click on insert to add a column into here, and then I would have went like that and then Control C to copy it, and then I would have pasted it into here and then delete that original one. But I've discovered that there's an easier way. So if you highlight a column, and it also works with rows or cells as well, and then you press the hold down the Shift key on the keyboard. So I'm holding the Shift key down, and then if you move your cursor to the until it's got this 4-directional arrow, then you can move your columns around like that, and you can see that it sort of goes in between the column. So if I let go, it's now moved the column and I don't need to remove that one. If I don't hold the shift key down and I just move it, that will try and paste over the top of the other cells. So it's still useful. Like if I just wanted to move this, then I can do that. That's also quite useful. So I'm going to just show how to do freeze panes. So if you've got quite a lot of data, then when you scroll down, then your column headings disappear, and sometimes you can't remember what each one meant. It's got a few different name ones and you're not really sure what they mean. But if you want to freeze panes, if you click on the cell that's below and one to the right of the pane that you want to freeze, and then go to view and freeze panes, and then just select the option here, then it means that when you scroll down, then the column headings will still be visible. And you could potentially do it here as well if you want to. So I could go unfreeze. And if I have the cell there there, then I can scroll to the left and right, and as well as up and down. So the next one is to automatically resize your columns. So one example is, say I can only see the start of these items, but actually if I want to make the column wider, so you could just make it wider like that. But if you double click on your column, then it will automatically size it to the width of the widest item in your data. You can also do it in bulk. So if I highlight the whole lot and just double click on one of them, then it will do it for all of them. So another one that quite often people will ask me about is, so if you want to, you've realized that you've missed out an item here, then you can insert a row, but you can actually also insert multiple rows by highlighting a bunch of rows or columns, and then if you go insert, then it will highlight that number of rows. I'm just pressing Control Z to undo what I've done there. So if you've got a formula or some data in Excel, and you want to copy that formula down, then an easy way to do that is to, so instead of typing the formula into every cell, you can, if you move your cursor until it's got this plus symbol, you can drag it and it will copy the formula down, and also take into account the row difference. The other thing that you can do as well is if you've got a lot of data, you might not want to drag it down all manually all the way. That can be quite slow. So what you can do is double click on here, and then, well, it actually takes it down to the bottom row where you've got some data. So it might not always work exactly how you want it to. Okay. Right, so one way, so if I wanted to see how far that's actually gone down, then if you press Control and down, then that takes me to the bottom of the populated cell. So that's quite a really useful way of navigating around your sheet, and then it also works in the other directions as well. So I can now go back to the top by pressing Control and up. sorry, and then you can do left and right as well. And also if you do Control and Home, then it takes you to the top left-hand corner of your data, and then Control End takes you to the bottom right-hand corner of your data. So sometimes it's useful to be able to sort of manipulate your data in a certain way. So for example, if I wanted to see all the items that came into the rugby repair cafe, then you can create a filter by clicking. So you can click anywhere within the cell. You don't have to sorry, anywhere within the data. You don't have to highlight the ones, like as long as you want all of them to have a filter on it, which is most of the time. And then if you click on the filter button, then it automatically creates these filters up until the end of your data, and then I can click on that drop down and then select whichever one that I want. Okay. So one thing that I also find useful is if you press Control and D when you're below a cell, so then it duplicates the one above it. So if I knew that that one is the same as that one's also in the Netherlands, then I don't have to type it out myself. I can just press Control D, and that if you've got a lot of them, so for example, all of these items were fixed by Bill, then if you highlight all of those cells and then press Control D, then that will populate with Bill, and that also works with formulas as well. Okay. So if I want to, so for example, if I wanted to populate these dates, I haven't got the data format in the very realistic way at the moment, but like say if I wanted to populate today's date with the next item, then instead of having to type the date or even remembering what date the current date is, you can press Control and semicolon. Oh, I don't know why it's gone. Oh, okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah, then it populates with today's date. So the other one, which I think is really, really handy, is if I want to, so if I know that I've only got a few particular values that I want, and they are already in my column, what you can do is if you press Alt on the keyboard and down, then that gives me a list of the items that have already been entered in the column above. So that's without having created any drop-down list or data validation or anything like that. So that can be really handy. So the next one, again, is not specific to Excel, but so when you press, if you want to copy and paste some data, you can you press Control and C to copy it, and then Control and V to paste it. So if I wanted to copy that one, and then, oh, my mouse is clicking strangely, but and you can click onto there, but sometimes what happens is that you want to paste your item from a few copies ago. So what you can do now is if you press the Windows key and V, then it gives you a clipboard history. So then you can select which item that you copied a few copies ago. And it's also useful just to remind yourself what was the last item you copied in the first place, and I can't always remember. So the next one I was going to show is Windows key and full stop, and that shows emojis. So it brings up the emojis window. Unfortunately, they are only black and white in the cell. I don't think you can do anything about that. But yeah, so there's a bunch of different emojis. I'm going to do a crying face, or a double crying face. So with the emojis, you can also use them in the tab names. So if you double click on a tab name as if to rename it, and then Windows key and full stop, and then so you can have like a little picture of your calendar in your calendar tab. Right, this one I was just going to show. So I've just got a few random numbers in these fields, and what you can do, so if I wanted to add them up, then you can do a sum formula, but a shortcut to doing that is if you press Alt and equals, then that will it will create the sum formula for you, and then you can drag that along. So the other thing that I actually quite often do as well, so when I created this data, I just got it to create some random numbers, but it means that every time I do something, then those numbers change. So if I wanted to fix those numbers in place, then you can do a paste special, and you can do paste values only. So what you can do, there's a few ways of doing that. If you copy the values, so highlighting them, and then I'm pressing Control-C to copy them. And then what I can do is if I go right click and the second one is values, then those numbers are now fixed in place, and they're not part of a formula. They won't keep changing. I've just pressed Control-Z to undo that. But the other thing that you can do if you want to do that is if you highlight the cells, I think you can just highlight the cells like that. And if you right click when it's the 4 arrows, drag it away and then drag it back, it also gives you the option to do copy here as values only. So that can be quite a quick way of doing that as well. So I was just going to show a few different ways of that you can use the filter. So if I, for example, if I got one value that says that, and if I wanted to bring all the, I still wanted to find the rugby values, but one of them says rugby and one of them says rugby Warwickshire. What you can do, I mean, this is quite a small data set, so you can easily just choose the both. But what you can do here is you can search within your filter. So if I typed rugby, then I can see that both of them are ones that I want. So they're both ticked, and I can click OK so that I can see both of them. The other thing that you can do is add to your selection. So if I wanted to see rugby and Coventry, then if I type Coventry, then you get this option here to add current selection to filter. If you don't click on that, then all the rugby ones will disappear and you'll only see Coventry. But if I want to see rugby and Coventry, then if I select that and go OK, then both of them will be there. And you can do that as many times as you want. But as soon as you choose one value that and then if you forget to click on that add to selection, then all the previous ones just disappear and you can't get them back, unfortunately. Right, okay, so sometimes you might have lots of different filters on, and like there's been quite a few times when people say to me, I'm sure, you know, that I had this in my data, but I can't see it. Sometimes it's quite difficult to see, like if you've got a lot of columns, it's difficult to see which columns have got filters on them. So what you can do is just, if you click on the clear button here, then it just removes every filter and gives you all of your data back again. So next thing I'm going to do is show how to create a drop-down list. So this is, I'm going to put it on the feedback column. If I wanted it to be applied to all of these, then it's called data validation. So if you click on data validation, oops. Oh, okay. Yes. Hey, and then I select what. So I'm going to select these values as my my values, my valid values. So now I've got, so if someone wanted to give feedback, you can say how happy you were with that fix. And obviously you can also write whatever you want into there. So another one that is quite useful is to show duplicate values. So for example, if my item number here should be unique, but I suspect that it's not unique because someone's accidentally typed in the wrong, the same value again. What you can do is, so if you highlight the column and then it's on the Home tab, and go to Conditional Formatting, highlight Cell Rules and Duplicate Values. And the default is a red fill, so I'm just going to accept that. And now I can easily see which ones that there are duplicate ones. And you can also, if you've got a lot of data, sometimes it can be, if you only want to see them, you can then also, using the filter, you can go filter by color and choose the red one. And now you can see only the ones that have got duplicate values in them. So in my job, I quite often I get sent data from various different sources, and if I've set up a process, for example, that is expecting the data to have particular columns, sometimes what happens is that the data that gets sent to me might not be in exactly the same format that the process is expecting it to be, and there could be a lot of columns that I'm dealing with. So what I usually do, the way that I find the ones that are not right, so this is my example. So I've got one set of column headings here, my second set of column headings here, where if I'm just sort of looking at it, it looks pretty similar and it's quite difficult to read. So what I normally do is, if I select the columns press Control-C to copy them. And then if I just find another sheet or just anywhere else, and then right click, and there's this paste transpose option. So then that pastes vertically, which I think immediately makes it easier to read. And then I'll do the same on the next lot of column headings. So paste transpose. Okay, so now, first of all, it's just easier to see, like I can see there's one extra column into here. And then there's an easy way that you can compare them as well. So if you do equals and then click on the first one and then equals again, and then the second one that you are expecting them to be equal, then it will give you a true or false. And then now I can double click to paste the formulas down. And now I can easily see which ones are not equal. So they look the same, but they're not. So I'm just going to go in and I can see that there's a space at the end of that cell and there's no space here. So what I can do is go in, check that that was the problem, and now that false has turned into a true. And excuse me, and I can either fix it or I can go back to whoever sent me the data and let them know that that's what the problem was in the first place. Okay. So one other thing that is quite useful if you've got a lot of tabs along here, it's similar, like it's quite difficult to read when they're going horizontal, and sometimes you might have to keep scrolling to find the one that you need. What you can do instead is if you right click on here, then it will show you a list of all your tabs, and then you can select the one that you want to go to. So that's quite handy. So I'm gonna just remove that filter. Okay, so one again fairly newish feature is nice checkboxes. So for example, if I wanted an easy way to say whether these items were fixed or not, if I'm just going to highlight those ones, and then if you go insert and checkbox, then you can it gives you checkboxes that you can tick or untick. And it's also really useful because when one is ticked, then the value in it, so you can see in the formula bar, is either false if it's not ticked, or it is true when it is ticked. So that means you can use it in a formula if you want to. So for example, you could maybe you could do some conditional formatting or something. So the ones that are ticked, you could make them green if you wanted to make them easier to see. So one thing that is really useful as well is that it's possible to say if you wanted to put the same column headings or something in multiple tabs, you can highlight the tabs by pressing Control and then highlight the ones that you want. And then if you start typing, I don't know, name, for example, then those values are in all the tabs that you've highlighted. One thing that you should look out for though, so for example, if I've already got some data in this one, if I did the same, oops. Yeah, so if I was doing that here, if I did that, and then I go to my sheet 12, which previously had some values in it, it will just overwrite it and it doesn't warn you about it. So that is something to look out for with that one. So one of the things that I quite often need to do is, so if you needed to compare a few columns. So for example, if I wanted to compare, I don't know, like I'm just going to say like the date and the fixer or something, it's quite difficult to do when they're so far apart. So quite often what people might do is hide the columns that are in between by doing that and go hide. The problem with that is that once you've unhidden them, it's not that easy to re-hide them. So what you can do instead is if you highlight the ones in between and if you group them, then so I'll click on that minus to hide them, and then click on the plus to be able to see them again, and then it's really easy then to re-hide the same cells again. So the next thing I was going to show is it's possible to, so if I wanted to write some notes on a repair, for example, if I start typing, I might want to go down to the next line. So if you want to do that, you can press Alt and Enter, and then that does like a carriage return within the cell, and then that yeah, it also automatically makes it higher. And you can also use that if you are writing a complicated formula to make it easier to read. So I think I see people using that when they're using a let or a lambda function, which can be quite long, and so it's a bit easier to read that the formula. I don't know how many people use Power Query, but one of the things that I for a while I really struggled with was sometimes if you are if you're in a query, then so for example, I'm just going to go sorry. So if I'm writing a Power Query, then one of the problems is that I can't then go back into the my Excel. So I might be in the middle of a query, but I need to check something in the data or something on a different tab, but I can't do that just get this horrible error noise. So you have to either close it or just, yeah, like come out of what you're doing. But there's a few ways around this. So one of them is that you can, oh, the other thing is that you can't like open any other Excel files either. You get this error message. So if I'm, for example, if I open this other file, then I get this error message saying you can't do that. So if I'm waiting for a query to load or something, sometimes they can take a while to load and I want to do some other work in the meantime, but I can't even do that. So yeah, so there's a few ways around it. One of them is to use Excel Online. So you can do that. I got the, oh yeah. So I can open my file online and I can make the changes to it that I need in here, or if I just need to see something, then that is just really useful. And I think there are a few different ways to do it. So Mark Proctor did he wrote a really thorough blog post about it. But the way that I use is if I'm trying to, if I want to open the other file, but in the desktop version, not the online version, then if you press, if you double click on the file to open it and then quickly hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, then you get this pop up asking if you want to start a new instance of Excel. And then, so if you go yes, then that will allow the other file to open. So now I can open another file and just work with it as I normally do. The thing is with that though, so you need to be a little bit careful. If you've got multiple instances of Excel open, you're kind of limited, so you can't copy and paste items between the two. Well, unless you copy the actual value like that. If you just copy the cell by clicking like that, then it won't work. You can't paste it onto the other version. And sometimes if you're writing a formula that refers to the other sheet, so normally that works okay, but if it's in another instance, it won't work. Yeah, and there's probably a few other things as well, but just to look out for. So yeah, and so I added this one just as my last tip, which is focus cell, because I've just managed. Well, I've just had an upgrade to my Excel version, so now I actually have it. Before I couldn't use it, but I really wanted to. So I'm just going to close this down. But what that does is, oops, is it means that you can, if you turn on focus cell here, then it sort of highlights the where you are in the cell, so it makes it really easy to see. Don't have to do that thing where you move your cursor around and to see where you are. Yeah, yeah. So that's it. Those are my tips. Yeah, I don't know if that's useful for anyone, or if anyone else has got any tips they'd like to share. I'd be quite interested to hear them as well. Just having a Got a question from Soma? Oh, Sauna, sorry.
Hello. Just to say, if you want, would it be better to set it up as a, use Control T to set up as a table?
Oh, yeah. Oh, generally the data as, yes, yeah, I do use that as well. Yeah. So when I did the put this one into Power Query, then it automatically did it for me. But yes, that is a good tip as well. So I don't know if I wanted to do that and then press Control T, and well, this is Monkey Tools is really useful that it gives you the option to name your table as you're creating it. I think if you don't have Monkey Tools, then it just names your table as the default name, and then you have to go back into it to change it. But yeah, so this is quite useful. Just gonna... And it gives it the nice formatting and the banding. Hang on, I'm going to turn that off. Yes, and I yeah, definitely. So that's the other thing is like, then if you want to do your formulas as well, that makes it a lot easier. So if I wanted to add a totals column, and then I don't know if I did equals, then it automatically calculates them for you as well. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I like that. Yeah, I don't know if has anyone got any questions or anything.
None from us in the room. Oh, I think Sauna has one though. Go ahead, Sauna.
I'm just wondering if it was for next time the presentation, would it be okay to use the zoom to selection button so it's easier for us to see the parts of the work that you're working on?
Yeah, I've never used that. What do you do? I've just noticed it here.
It's under view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. That's a good one. So what does that do? Does it just zoom into whatever data you're looking at?
Mostly, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. How do I? Yeah, I always when I see the people doing the tutorials and they make them really nice, and I'm not really sure how they do that.
Is that sorry, Lee? I've got one question on when you were earlier showing the copy to values when you had the random array.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Have you? I think it's quite a relatively new feature, but there's now Control Shift V paste through the value. Have you used that before?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say?
Oh, sorry. So on the bit earlier where you had the rand array,
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Is that any
Yes.
clearer?
Yep.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, when you had the rand array and you were pasting as a value and you
Yep.
kind of moved it and moved it,
Yep.
or you right clicked and select the paste values.
Yep.
Have you used Control Shift V to paste as a value before?
Yes. Yes. No, that I have.
Yes.
That is really, really useful.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's I'm just gonna do it. Let me see. So that's a formula, isn't it? Yeah. So if you Control C and then Control Shift V, yes, that's really, really useful. I think that might be available in other programs now as well, is it? I'm not sure.
I know you can use it. You've been able to use it in Google Sheets for a long time before it was in Excel.
Okay.
And they recently added it to Excel, which was actually really handy. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, you used to have to right click and select the values, which was a bit of a pain.
Yes. Yeah. No, that is really useful. I think one thing with that always happens is if you do it with dates and then it pastes it as the number, like the number of days from whatever, the 1st of January 1900 or whatever, and then like people always get confused by that. But yes, definitely, yeah, that's a really, really useful one. Yeah, thanks, Ben.
Yeah, it's like you say, but so it won't paste any format. So like you say, the dates will be numbers. If there's colors or anything like that, it won't carry those forward. But
Yes.
it is a useful. I guess if you wanted, the way I usually do it, if I want to keep the formatting, is I'll do Control V, and that will paste all the colors and the formats,
Right.
even if it breaks the formulas. And then you can just do Control Shift V over the top, and then it will paste the values into the formatted cells.
Yeah, no, that's useful. Yeah, because sometimes you
Mhm.
don't want the formatting, but sometimes you do, and then yeah.
Yeah.
I only started using the format painter quite recently as well, and that's really useful as well.
Yeah, that's a lifesaver. I've used that loads of times.
Yeah.
Um, um, yeah. No.
Ben, can you post the YouTube link to the chat, please? If you can, please.
The link to what? Sorry.
The Southampton YouTube channel, please.
Yes. Let me find it.
Thank you.
Just paste it in now. Here we go. And this is where I'll post a recording afterwards. There you go. I just shared it in the chat window. Cool. So I don't know. No problem. I don't know, Lee, if there's any more quick tips or if anyone's got any questions there. I think we're okay in the room. Yeah. Sona, do you have a question?
Just I know. Sorry, I'm just wondering. You know, when you said you copy and you paste the date as values.
For dates. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
should be a way, I think, of formatting that really quick.
Oh, okay. So if I
I can't remember. It's Control Shift something. Do you happen to remember what that is?
I don't know how to do it with keeping the date format there. Like if I did Control Shift V here, then it does that. But that would be really handy if anyone knows how to do that. I normally just do that and then I go back into the here and then change the format to a date.
Yeah, I'm not aware of a shortcut that pastes dates as dates, but kind of removes any other elements. But yeah, if someone does know, please put it in the chat or share it, because that would be really useful.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think, especially if you don't realize that is why it's doing it as well with the dates, then it can just be really confusing. Yeah, but I might have to look it up afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be really useful to know if it was there.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I think if there's no other questions, I think we can leave it there then. If is there any further shortcuts or anything, Lee, that you've got?
Oh, that's the end of mine. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, there's no questions in the room, and I think no one else online's put their hand up. So thanks very much. That was really useful. There's a couple of little shortcuts there that I'm definitely going to steal. I definitely didn't know you could put emojis in your sort of sheet headings,
Yeah.
like your little calendar with the calendar at the end. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's
Um,
quite smart.
so thanks. Yeah, lots of little things to pick up and start using straight away.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. What's it? I think there's been a few times when people have said that that can cause problems if you're doing something with VBA, and if you've got an emoji in your sheet names, then it can cause problems with that. So I guess it's useful to be aware of that. But
Okay, thanks. We
yeah.
have a VBA expert in the room, so he's
Ah.
cursing that bit of information as we speak. But yeah, I think he thought he was going to put them on every tab until a minute ago.
Ah.
But yeah, okay, great. Well, thanks a lot, Lee, and thanks everyone for attending. And yeah, the recording will be on YouTube in the next couple of days if anyone wants to catch up and check out any of the little tips and tricks again. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Ben. Bye. See you.
Thanks. Bye, Lee.